conversation that I felt we actually need to have. That's the reason why I thought to myself that I needed to make sure that the issue of confidence is the main issue that we have, the first issue that we have to tackle on our first lesson. So to begin with, because I'm pretty sure that most of us have come across these exaggerated statements like, you know, the world's biggest fear is the fear of public speaking. Guys, I'm afraid of a lot of things. Public speaking is just one of them, but it's not the biggest fear. I think we've also come across some exaggerated statements as well, like this one is actually, they claim that there are some people that actually did research for this, that over 90% of the world's population is afraid of public speaking. And the technical term of it is glossophobia, the fear of public speaking. I do not know. But what I can safely say about those statements is they hold some element of truth in them. In fact, let's just have a conversation. How many of us in this room can safely say that I think after these 3 months I'll be able to conquer my fear of public speaking?
3 months?
Yes. Or let's just say somewhere down the line I'm going to conquer my fear of public speaking. That is the three of you. Why would you say that?
I think because we'll be constantly practicing
Mhm.
and learning the fundamental skills to do it. So yeah, I think.
Okay. So you are unanimous. That's your unanimous response. Okay. What if I could break it down to you to say that you can never, ever conquer the fear of public speaking?
Okay.
Yeah, I know this is like tikatobudisa mavideo tikavaendesa kunzoko tikatakaudza vanhu kuti you can never conquer the fear of public speaking. Inotoita nyaya. Because I know a lot of people that will tell you that you're going to conquer the fear of public speaking, but you can never conquer it. But what you can learn to do as an individual, you can learn to manage that fear of public speaking. Why am I saying this? It's pretty much because I always say that public speaking is not public speaking. It's more of a conversation with an audience. What I mean in most cases when I'm saying that it's a conversation with an audience, whatever you do, when you're talking to an individual on a day-to-day basis, you're talking to your husband, you're talking to your wife, you're talking to your friends, whatever you're doing, the same approach that you take during those conversations is the same approach that you take during your public speaking presentation. But the only difference is because you're speaking in front of a large group of people or a bigger crowd. What that pretty much means is, in a day-to-day conversation, my voice projection is more intimate because I'm talking to someone who is close to me. But because this is a large audience, I have to make sure that my voice is more projected. My body language has to be more visible. That's pretty much what public speaking and presentation skills is all about. Now, going back to the issue of the fear of public speaking, the reason why I'm saying you can never, ever conquer the fear of public speaking, I can safely tell you that all the charismatic speakers that you think of, the great orators, your Barack Obamas, the late President Robert Gabriel Mugabe, my personal role model, Busit and Wire, all those people, all those individuals, they've never conquered the fear of public speaking. So where am I getting with this? I need you to understand that your level of anxiety, it changes with the stage of presentation that you're delivering to. Perfect example I want to give you. During my high school days, I was one of the head prefects at my school. So what that pretty much meant is we used to have prefects assemblies. And with those prefects assemblies, I was addressing about 1,200 boys, every single assembly. And it was 3 times a week. So you can multiply 3 times, you multiply that by 4 weeks, you get 12 times of speaking to 1,200 boys. You multiply that by 3 months, I don't know, 12 by 3, 36 times a term, I'm addressing students. So you would really appreciate that when you see me addressing any other audience, I'm very comfortable. Because 1,200 boys, 36 times. Confidence in maintenance. But what I can tell you is, after I finished my high school, I was given an opportunity. I was invited at this particular event called a Pejakuta event. And the majority of the audience members were white people. White. So now, students I might say watching and stuff. And this audience is now different. These 1,200 boys believe that say watching. Say vakamira pamberi pevanhu tinovatemba. But in front of this audience, it was a different conversation altogether. Now, so I remember because I had written my speech down, like my procedure of coming up with the presentation is I write down my stuff, the stuff that I want to present in front of my live audience. I write down my stuff and then I claim it and then I practice it. I go through various stages. I think we're going to talk about them during maybe towards the end of the presentation. I write down my speech, I practice, I do all that stuff because I want to make sure that I give myself that confidence before I deliver a presentation. So I had written my piece of paper, my speech on a piece of paper. And then when I got in front of this audience, as I was about to deliver my presentation in front of them, the governor realized that audience this is not the typical audience that I'm used to. These are white people. Of course, some are smiling, but so in other words, I'm not used to this audience. So I was bound to get that space anxiety. Long story short, I did the presentation, but I didn't deliver it as effectively as I would do the other presentations. Why? Because the magnitude of the presentation was now different. My name was Agasiya. So what I'm simply trying to say is, whatever presentation that you have to deliver, never, ever, ever, ever tell yourself that you're going to conquer the fear of public speaking. Never, ever lie to yourself. Put confidence into not the address audience. Yes, that is, in my own opinion. I'm always open to second opinions. My belief is you can never do that. Now I'm going to explain, because the way I see confidence, the issue of confidence, I see it. We can put it on a scale, something like this. You can put it on a scale, something like this. Then you've got 1, then you've got 10. So if I were to ask you a question, how confident are you just to deliver a presentation in front of, just to deliver a presentation, it's either you're too scared. Let me try to write something here. It's either you're too scared to stand in front of us to deliver the presentation, or you're too scared again, or you're too scared again to deliver the presentation, but to make excitement, if I stand in front of that audience to deliver a presentation, how am I going to react? In other words, what I'm simply trying to say is, you're looking forward to doing it, but you still have that stage fright. So the difference between you and I, or maybe the difference between you and a person like Vusi Tembekwayo, is Vusi Tembekwayo has delivered over 100 presentations. He is familiar with so many different audiences. So the way he is going to grab attention with the audience, or the way that he's going to deliver his message, is going to be more effective because he's used to my audiences. But you've only delivered maybe 3, or you've only delivered two presentations. But Vusi is 10 out of 10. Because at any stage you've taught deliver presentation. Perfect example I can give you. I believe that in Zimbabwe we've got so many speakers that we think are very charismatic. You move into churches, you've got your preachers, you've got your pastors, you've got your prophets and all. We believe that these people are charismatic presenters. But have you ever noticed, these kinds of presenters they are charismatic. Sunday in, Sunday out, they are delivering their presentations or whatever sermons that they have in front of a church congregation. Vanhu ivavo tikanovatora tikanovaisa muaudience ine government ministers kana kuti ine presidents, the way they deliver the presentations and the way they deliver the presentations kunogona kuti siyani. Pamwe vanogona kudeliver very effective, like it will be very effective when they're delivering the presentations, but hana inotorova chete because audience yavakudeliverira it's a different audience altogether. So that's what I need you to understand. This issue here, fear of public speaking. Of course, some people would then say, as it's an issue of semantics, you're saying conquer, you're saying managing, you're saying overcoming, it's one and the same thing. But I guess you are getting what I'm trying to say. You can never be 100% confident to deliver a presentation. Confidence is it's either if you are starting in your preliminary stages, because you haven't delivered as many presentations as possible. You haven't learned maybe my skills, this kind of audience, how am I going to approach it? This kind of audience, how am I going to approach it? This kind of audience, how am I going to approach it? It's a different conversation. But unosvika nekuti unenge une mapresentations akawanda aunenge waita sei aunenge waita. So that's the whole gist about this issue of the fear of public speaking. I don't know if you have any questions there before I move on to the next thing or the next stuff that I want to talk about. Or maybe, like I've said, I'm always open to a second opinion. If you believe if you believe you've got some idea, you could say that, but my opinion is something else which is totally different from what I am saying. You can always say that. We want to make it as open as possible, and also in my learning experience. Yeah. Questions? You're good.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm so you
We're actually also open to ideas, so
you want to test this. Okay, it's fine. So, right. So there are three things that I believe for you to become a confident speaker, or rather 3 stages that you have to go through for you to become a confident speaker. Should I say 3 stages? Or let's say 3 ingredients. But these 3 things, they are sort of a must for every presenter. Because remember, at the end of the day, to deliver your presentation, you want to improve your confidence. That is the most important thing. Kind of confidence is just simple. We're not going to get only content is very important, but kind of confidence is simple. Content you are in a bus. And so first thing that I'm going to talk about, because you can never run away from this. It's very important. First thing that I'm going to talk about is the issue of a lot of people would want to say preparation, but then I would want to say podium time. Podium time. Then the second issue that I want to talk about is the issue of hygiene. Hygiene. Then the third issue that I want to talk about is the issue of your mindset. The mindset that you have to develop as somebody who is delivering a presentation. So if you get these 3 things right, I'm 100% confident that whatever presentation you're going to deliver, your audience is going to like it. They're going to love it. And it's okay. So these are the stages. So I'm one of those guys who always say I don't like statistics and I don't like to talk about research. But with that being said as well, I'm a person who also comes up with their own theories. Or my statistics angle. So these statistics, they are not really accurate, the ones that I will give you, but they have some element of truth in them. In other words, they are just helping me to paint a picture about what I want to, the information that I want to impart with you. Okay, so the first thing, we're talking about the importance of podium time. When we're talking about podium time, we're talking about you making sure that you prepare your presentation as much as possible. So if we give each other an assignment today, and we say next week Saturday, that's when you're going to deliver a presentation like this. It means you have to invest your time to prepare the presentation, that presentation, before you come and deliver it. The reason why I'm saying that is because 3/4 or maybe let's say 50% of your confidence in a presentation is going to come from validation. Not internal validation, external validation. Zandroedza kutaura nezvekuti mukoma divine ndikati uyai pamberi apa mumbe presentation isusu anditika vanhu vese vari muno makakuombererai maoko kuti presentation yamarova iyi yakapeka iyi munoita self esteem. You feel good about yourself because waudzwa kuti unogona wanzi wakapeka. So iwe paunenge uchitofamba uchidaona presentation ungotiziva kuti ndakaita sei ndakapeka. So that's the issue that's the main reason why you have to invest on this podium time. But for you to get to that stage where you get that validation,
You have to be sure of the things that you're going to talk about. In other words, you don't know what you don't know. So if you do not prepare the presentation, the main reason why you are preparing your presentation before you deliver it, you want to be sure of the content that you want to share with your audience members. That is the main reason why you are preparing or you're giving yourself this podium time. So to put it in numbers, because like I've said, to remove my statistics, I cannot break those statistics up, but I believe that it's natural quality to not. So in other words, if we give each other an assignment, and whoever is going to be part of the audience next week, whoever is going to be part of the audience next week, munhu iye ari kuteerera presentation yenyu kekutanga, that particular individual, they are listening to your presentation for the first time. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you are delivering that presentation for the first time. You get the idea? They are listening to the presentation for the first time, but you're not delivering the presentation for the first time. Possibly you're delivering the presentation for the 10th time, or you're delivering the presentation for the 100th time, depending with how much time you choose that I want to invest myself into this. So your presentation you are delivering to your final audience or to your audience, or all the data I'm naming my invite, Madam Kero, please come and talk about the acting industry in Zimbabwe. That presentation you're going to talk about the acting industry in Zimbabwe. It's a presentation I'm going to talk about. Speech. Mwenda ndikabeba kenyu mongonomira pamberi pevanhu makutotanga kutoshamisika mutori pamberi papo mutotodeliver presentation muchitoona chimwe chiro mutoti iri wendiri munhu akariisa iri aizviziva here. So you need to put those things into consideration. The presentation you are delivering, you're not delivering that presentation for the first time. You're going to deliver, I don't know, 100th time or 10th time, but my practice a presentation iyo musati my deliver pamberi pevanhu. That is very important. Critical component number one. It's very, very important. Reason I'm saying this, I also have my story. So as I'm explaining, I'll also give you a bit of my story. I started doing public speaking in 2015. 2015 I was involved in. Right. So I was coming from a boys' school, going to another boys' school. Apparently this other boys' school that I was going to, I was given a soccer scholarship. So in the environment mabhora mwene majabhora akagurikiwa kwete kuti I'm trying to marginalize them. Zvitori background. I mean I used to play soccer, so you would relate. So you're talking about kids that are coming from the other side of Samora. And when we're talking about the other side of Samora, we're talking about your Bares, your Glenoras, your Highfield. These kids are talented, but they're talented in the sport. Kumageto kwaari institution situation yekutika the other kids that are in that particular school, they are coming from this other side of Samora. So this other side of Samora and Tower, your Mount Pleasant, your Port Dells and stuff like that. If they are not coming from this other side of Samora, somewhere down the line in their lives, they've been in an environment where they speak in English on a consistent basis. But it's a different conversation with me. Because when you go class, but not necessarily English. That's how we use the English language, and that's it. Now I get in this institution. When I get in this institution, pretty much almost everyone, it's not everyone though, almost everyone, I think I just tell that whatever. And I'm not used to this. So what then happens is I had a friend of mine when I got an airport, and this individual, he loved things like public speaking and debate and whatnot. And this day I was supposed to have soccer practice, but unfortunately, the soccer practice was cancelled. And because it was cancelled, now what I'm first one going to IG, Kumba, they can wait and say, the one period kids are going to be debate. Plus, in India, the 6-7. Why would I get home today? I go for that interview debate. So when we get to the room, you go interview people that are getting in the room, they are queued, they have the boys that are being asked questions and whatnot. And you've got the people that are already in the debate team.
vakagara ndo vari kubvunza bvunzo, oh, you've got your president, whatever, all those guys. Vanomirira kuti vapinde kuti vakufurahi mukati. So vanhu vari kupinda muinterview debate mwemwe, they are asked questions, they respond vobuda. Kopinda mumwe munhu, they are asked questions, they respond vobuda. Saka ini manje ndakazoita curious because towards the end of the interview, towards the end of the line vanhu vaipinda, vakava kuti vakapinda vanobuda vachiita sei, vanobuda vachiseka sezvokuti munhu anenge aita sei, anenge apiswa mukati momo, apinda muinterview wobuda achiseka, apinda muinterview wobuda achiseka. Saka ine angoita curious ndakangoti munhu ngopinda vanhu vanongobuda vachiseka, whatever zvinenge zvamuitika imo munongobuda uchingoseka zvakuita vanhu. That was my mindset. So I get in this room, napinda in tatangoudzwa kuti mabasics ka kuti ukasvika mune marara, you pick up the litter, you put it in the bin, then unofanira kusvika button blazers anenge akaitwa sei. When you get in the room, you're supposed to greet them, you don't just immediately sit. Mabasics tatomaudzwa. Saka mabasics ndinenge ndaida sei ndakamapasa, then I was told to sit down. Then we get into the gist of the debate interview. Now, these people that are interviewing me are asking questions. And they are asking a lot of questions. Nechurungu. Pauri kubvunza nechurungu havasi kundipa opportunity yekuti ndipindure neshona. Because remember, inini manje ndakukangana kuti ndangopinda kuti ndiita sei ndione kuti chii chiri kuitika. Ndatoneka curiosity ngekutoti aiwa ndandopinda mudebate mimi. So handisina mindset yekungoti whatever zvaitika ndipo. Ndapinda muno, these guys are asking questions. And they had a lot of questions that they were asking. And to tell you how bad it was, how bad the situation was, they would ask me a tricky question. So they're expecting me to respond to that question in vain. When they asked that particular question, I did. In any match, chirungu changu ndechekuita sei, ndechekubatanidza. Saka ndongona kutaura ndomabatanidza zvakanaka. Patinonopererwa ndobva ndajoinira neweti rangu reshona. Obvati nekuti handisika. You say something. Bonononoti ndaomerwa obvati chii. Uri kuinclude pawezi reshona chocho because that's how you're wired.
Yeah.
So the question they then asked me, I think this is the question that made me the main reason why they allowed me to join the debate team. The question they then asked me was, what do you do for the school? And I responded, nothing. I just play soccer. So to them it was like, mpana mjabura wewe unotaurwa chirungu. Mpana ngatimpinze, mpana anenge ane attitude. That's how I joined the debate team. Long story short, ikoko kuma-preliminary. Kunonakidza kwacho manje. The following week, we had a debate social. And this debate social, we were going to cheesy. Right? Because they know. We're going to cheesy. So we go we get to the CPT. You know, the school, if you don't have Mavete, your top 1%. And stuff like that, you know, I don't speak in Shona and stuff like that. Anyways, we get to this particular to the debate social, and then before the debate social begins, they ask us to do an icebreaker speech. And for these icebreaker speeches actually, they wanted us to do impromptu speeches. So from these 2 impromptu speeches I did, they actually wanted 4 impromptu speeches. That is 2 guys from my school because it was a boys' school, and 2 girls from the other school because it was a ladies' school. So we had Mvesa Ryan from my school. I think it was Form 3, another Form 2. Mvesa Ryan from my school he was given his impromptu topic. Then we had a lady from GCPT. She went, then it was my turn. I get in front of the debate. I get in front of the lecture theater. I remember, I didn't know the questions I remember, compositions I am told the day I will never forget. This one is the day I will never forget for me because it's the one that catapulted into the piece of public speaking because of that. So I stand in front of this lecture theater. Then my impromptu speech is, public schools are better than private schools. That is my impromptu talk. You know, for some people it's like very easy.
But for me, remember background yangu. Chirungu changu ndechekuita sei? Ndechekujoinidza. I get in front of this audience. Then I say one line. My one line was, public schools are better than private schools because there's no bullying. I think line you rolling about 10 seconds. I lasted 10 seconds. But remember, I'm supposed to speak for 1 minute 15 seconds. You're not going to start out 1 minute 15 seconds. Magagara baba. Mukatasa mafoni yenyu, mukatasa mawachi. Munotoona kuti 1 minute atofura. Kana munotoona kuti hour atofura. 1 minute 15 seconds look at it's a different conversation altogether. The way that you see me ndakamira pana, and the way that I see you ndakamira pana, I'm just one. It's a different conversation altogether. It's a different conversation altogether. So this is what was happening. 1 minute 15 seconds, I'm going to tell her one line. So the remainder of the time, sometimes you look kusiling or ideas. You look down and stuff, you know, like people my age would then say, "Anzi English band repeated." That's not a producer. That's not a subscriber English band. That's how difficult it was. So 1 minute, that's our 15 seconds with my gap fillers. And then at the end of 1 minute 15 seconds, I go and sit down. But it was tight. When we went back to school, you know, I was from a boys' school. Most of you would call it bullying. You also would call it culture. So they did what they did to me, but it was a lesson to remember. Fast forward the following year, we then had inter-house public speaking. We then had inter-house public speaking. Now the people that I was competing with in this inter-house public speaking were the people that interviewed me the previous years. These were my debate presidents. Like in the first 10-year debate, these are the people that are debating. And these are the people that I'm competing with to become junior public speaking, whatever, but whoever is going to represent the school for the public speaking thing. I can safely tell you right now that I won. I won that in-house public speaking. But look one to go. From Kutaza utaura chiro. Kusika pa stage to compete and one interview. And just under 1 year, I'm competing with these guys and I'm beating them in the in-house public speaking competition. And then I represent the school because it was an Akaswita. But the reason why I'm telling you this story is I want to paint the journey. So before we went for the inter-house, like before that was an Akaswita, I got more inspired. You know, being part of this debate, guys, and they are doing their debating stuff each and every day, and you're like, you know what, I want to be one of those guys. Someday I have to be standing in front of those people, or someday I have to be standing in front of these guys, and so I knew immediately, digital experience, immediately, I wouldn't be able to do it. But my only shot was the in-house public speaking. So during the next year when we were supposed to compete, the head teacher, the TIC, was in charge of public speaking and debate and whatnot. So I went and saw him. Sir, when is the in-house public speaking competition? And he told me that it's in the second term, the second week of June. Now this was the first term of 2016. That's when I was informed. This was the first term of 2016. Towards the end of that first term, that's when I started preparing for my presentation. I wrote down the stuff. Reason being, and I believe that most of you can agree with me on this one. Kuti, the English that you write is better than the English that you speak. So I wrote down my stuff. After writing down my stuff, I practiced the stuff that I had written down. I practiced how I was going to present or how I was going to use my voice projection. I practiced how I was going to use my body language. In other words, I internalized the whole presentation. By the time I go to the second month, by the time we go to the second term, the second week of June, I was ready. But I got notice the first term and I and I won that competition. Fast forward to that. When I got to lower six, I was then chosen as one of the head prefects at my school. But remember, Mjaburo, coming from this other side of Samoa.
Fast forward to that. Last year I won the Toastmasters Zimbabwe public speaking competition, whatnot. This is the journey that I came through. So the main reason why I'm telling you this is because the amount of commitment and determination, whoever podium time. Podium time is all about preparation. You can never, ever, ever skip the stage of preparation to build your confidence because it's very important. Remember, don't deliver. I always say, like the people that I do my private sessions with them, I always tell them, don't ever deliver a presentation that was not prepared. If they tell you, mangwana chikuda kuti mauye kuzoparidza mangwana maudzo izvozvo maudzo kuti andikwanisa. Always make sure that you invest as much time as possible in your preparation. That is critical component number one. Then critical component number two, the issue of hygiene. Hygiene hatisingotaura nyaya yekugeza. Inini zvangu nyaya yekugeza important. But the entry consent now is telling you, how you, the way that you dress, the way that you appear in front of people. I think this also goes back to the issue that I already. You would remember, the majority of your confidence is going to come from external validation, the validation that you get from people. The validation that you get from people. I don't know, Divine.
Yes.
I love the fact that you're wearing a suit today. How are you feeling?
Thanks.
The feeling is different. So, I started wearing suits, I think in 2022. I was like, nah, since now, I'm now a suit guy. The moment I got pick up a suit guy, people would approach me with a different tone altogether. You know, there are people that are as old as my mom. But we are going to do what it. Say, no, that, Inini, do you even know how old I am? I'm old enough to be your son or your grandson, but you're calling me say. Why? It's because I realized this quotation is very important. I told you two more quotation. There's the other one, you don't dress the way you want to be addressed. That one. The reason why they're saying dress the way you want to be addressed is because in your dressing, you're going to feel confident. In your dressing, you're going to feel confident. And that confidence, again, is coming from that external validation. Because kana makachena tinotozona kuti makachena toda kudza kuti makachena. Imba munozoona kuti pamunoudza kuti makachena munobatofila kuti ndakachena pana. So that external validation, again, is coming from that issue of hygiene. Dress the way you want to be addressed. Another quotation, Tom Ford, I like this one. And the dressing well is a form of good manners. Yeah, you can steal that. You can steal that one. Dressing well is a form of good manners. So you need to make sure that you invest in the dressing. You invest in the wardrobe. You invest in the wardrobe. So in other words, what I'm simply trying to say, I believe there are so many things that we can talk about. In other words, what I'm simply trying to say, the issue of confidence, are you feeling good about yourself? Self-esteem. That's basically what we're talking about. So the issue of self-esteem is very, 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 very important. You know what you have practiced your presentation. You know what you are dressing well. You can never go wrong. Your presentation has been practiced and you're dressing well. There is no way you're going to go wrong. That is the second component. And then the third and final component, the issue that is very important as well, the issue of the mindset. Mindset. So when we're talking about the mindset, we're talking about the things that you tell yourself as an individual. Before you deliver a presentation, what are you telling yourself before you deliver a presentation? Because it's very important, eh? Because I don't know whether it's just me. In most cases, people can tell how you're feeling inside by the way that you're walking. People can tell how you're feeling inside by the way that you're talking. Which is this person really confident? So this is not about mindset, self-esteem. So I think I will start by although I'm not a big fan. I'm not really a big fan, but it's very important because remember we're talking about the issue of affirmations. I believe we've somehow come across issues that have to do with affirmations. affirmations when you're telling yourself, I am this, I am that, I'm a good public speaker, or I am a smart gentleman, or you just tell yourself these overzealous things. The only problem I have with affirmations, they are good because they help you build your esteem. In Inizramuba, I usually use those affirmations when I've done these two things. When I've done these two things. So recently I started facilitating. Remember I was telling you, Guti, you can never be in a position where you tell yourself, and I feel very confident. So MCing, I've never done it before. I've never done MCing before. Like, kutomira pamberi pevana watobhatara mari dzawo watobhatara MC. But recently I was invited for this event to come and MC. It was Yaitro Harare International, no, not Harare International, Harare Institute of Technology, for some digital marketing kind of thing. They invited me to come and facilitate a particular event. Because this is my first time. Hanayaka does say, Yakaruva. But you know what helped me? Is my training. I've had enough podium time. In high school, I was doing public speaking. I became a prefect. I was delivering presentations on a consistent basis. After that, I joined Toastmasters. After that, I worked at the School of Public Speaking. So I'm going to podium time. You're going to say, Yakawanda. So even if I don't know pure nigiri audience ya siana ne environment ya rajaira. Nekuti ndamomira pamberi pevanhu vakawanda. Hana irodorova, but I can manage that anxiety. So in this case, I had my podium time and I had my hygiene. I was looking good. What was left was the issue of the mindset. So before I began to do, like before the event began, because you've never done this before. So I'm going to chibana chao cha chipambere. So ndonja naenda kuseri kwebhaneko chanataka kuwa affirmations. You know what, Nash, you can do this. You've done this before, whatever. All that stuff. In most cases, in my case, I choose to be creative with my affirmations. Whatever I'm telling myself, I choose to be creative. You can do these teachers. That's what I was telling myself on the issue of affirmations. But my affirmations, why you podium time time. Because the only problem I have with affirmations, remember these things, they are overzealous. Kazhinji kacho manje confidence zvakashatira ndezvekuti dzinouya nezvinhu zvazinokonfirma. Munogona kuzviudza kuti munotaura zvisingaite, but kana musati mambotaura zvisingaite vanhu vakakudza kuti makataura zvisingaite, hamunongozviudza, munozozviona mapastage kuti ayo ndini anditaura. Mapastage ndo pamunozvionera. So that's the issue. That's the main issue at Ninyama affirmations. Then on the other hand as well, I'm going to go back to that definition that I gave you, that it's a conversation with an audience. Don't take it as a speech. Like I've attended so many events where you had someone who is doing their public speaking, who has been given the opportunity to deliver a speech. And then they deliver that speech like it's a public speech. So I don't like that. For me, I do not bread numbers in somewhere else. Ndinofarira munhu anoita kuti ndifile kunge ndiri muenvironment so someone who is communicating directly to me, because remember, it's a conversation. So in other words, remember, you're speaking to individuals. So the issue in mindset, you're just taking I think you've heard about this. Kana muchibutirira motivational speech. If you listen to a lot of motivational speech, I think you've heard about the lion mindset somehow. Which answers the lion is not the biggest animal in the jungle. It's not the fastest. It's not the tallest. It's not the smartest. But when the tallest animal, the giraffe, sees the lion, animal, danger. But when the lion sees the giraffe, it's like food. And pretty much the same thing with the elephant. Elephant is like danger, but the lion is like food. Of course, but the most immediate reaction in animals, reaction is you were to the food, you were to danger. So you would notice that even my elephants are going to protect themselves. So that's pretty much the same mindset that I would want you to develop.
Imini as individuals, when you see an audience, remember, you're not talking to a large group of people, you're talking to individuals, you're talking to friends, you're talking to family members, you're talking to people that you're familiar with. Human beings just like you and I. You need to put that into consideration. So that's the mindset that you have to develop. But before we get to that issue mindset, podium time. Because the AI, yes, we can talk about this because this one, it requires resources. But this podium time, I don't know my resource. Podium time is just an issue of practice. I think what I'm going to do next week, I'm going to show you my videos. I think what I'm going to do. I practice my presentations. Of course, with this class at Jessica, today's a true practice and writers will know we enter per stage. But I practice before I deliver the presentation because I want to make sure. No, that is my mindset. Of course, I can tell you, a lot of people will tell you, I'm here to serve. Yeah, I'm here to help you. Yeah, but what was they're here to serve. But in India, I also want to build my brand. I also want to become. So I want to be good at the things that I do.
Yeah.
I want to be top 1%. Presentation skills and public speaking. I'm in the top 1% of the names that have been announced. So for me to get to that top 1%, then you have to say this to but top 1% just read. So those are the three things, three critical components that I felt like we really needed to touch upon, or we really needed to discuss. Not knowing if we had any questions, I think we need that our questions, comments.